Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and sometimes these simple quilt blocks can be the most stunning quilts. It's all about the fabric layout, and I have a quilt pattern that will show you what a simple block can really turn into. The free pattern and the fabric are both from Riley Blake, and they're called paparazzi. This fabric reads as a solid, but it does have little polka dots on it. What I like about this pattern is the blocks are very simple, but it's the way they're put together that gives us that rainbow look. When we're reading the pattern, we're going to be able to know what fabric is going to go where by the amount we're going to cut. For example, I'm cutting 2 of all pieces, which means I'm going to have those 2 blocks. I come down here, I have cutting 5 of everything. So then I'm going to know where those 5 are going to go together. So the cutting directions are the same for each fabric. The difference is the amount that we're going to cut. So I've cut all of my pieces first. They've remained in order. Now I'm going to organize this. I'm going to keep all of the pieces in one pile, and I'm going to lay it out as if the block would be done. One thing I do like to do, and I do this with every quilt, it might seem a little bit more like work, but I find it helps prevent mistakes and the sewing goes by a lot quicker. These are the 2 pieces that are going to be sewn together along that seam. I make sure that all of the pieces are the right side up. There are some fabrics that it's easy to make a mistake as you're sewing. So if you have them all right side up to start off with, this is going to prevent some mistakes and speed up the sewing. So all of my piles are right side up. These are the 2 I'm going to sew. This I'm going to bring to the machine. So those are the 2 piles that are going to go together. I like to start with the piece that's going to be on the bottom, or the largest piece on my left-hand side. My smaller one is going to be on my right. So I'm going to be able to pick these up and put them together. So I'll pick up the first piece. This top piece I can easily flip over. But by having them in order, it's just going to save a lot of time. I don't have to worry about if my fabrics are upright. I just can start sewing. So I'm going to match those seams, and I'm going to be able to sew that 1/4 inch. Now chain piecing is where I've come off of that fabric and I can go 1 or 2 stitches. I don't cut the thread. I pull over the next 2 pieces, line them up, and stitch. You'll see that they're attached right here. That's going to keep those colors in order, and it saves a lot of time. So I'm going to continue chain piecing until I get through those 2 stacks. Because I had the appropriate amount of squares that needed to be sewn together, I should end up with the same when I'm done. If not, this is the time you need to stop and figure out, did you cut too many or not enough before you go to that next stage. The machine can sew quite fine 2 or 3 stitches between each piece. You don't have to worry about that. It won't sew 20, but a couple of stitches will be fine. So I'm finished that first pile. I'm going to be able to take it off, and all of them are joined together in the same order. So I will be able to cut them apart and keep them in that same stack. So the chain piecing has allowed me to keep them all in order. Once I have those all stacked, I'm going to be able to take them to the iron, press them in the appropriate direction, and then bring those back to my board and get ready for my next piece. After they're all pressed, you can see where I'm going to be able to just pick these up and now bring them to the machine, and I'm going to do that same system. All upright, flip, stitch, chain piece. And I'm going to be able to do that for all of these pieces until the entire block is done. And that's going to keep all of my pieces in order and make sure that I'm not making any mistakes. So I have all of those blocks done. We're going to be able to lay them out in rows. And we're going to be able to keep them in order as we lay them out. What we're going to do is deal it sort of like a deck of cards. Let me show you how this is going to go together. Now, in order to get this all into the camera, I'm just going to turn the pattern sideways so you're going to be able to see all 6 rows. So row 1 is that first color. Row 2 is that second green. And we're going to put that same color back up here to row 1. My next row is row 3. So I have 1, 2, 3. I need to add 1 onto row 2 and add 1 onto row 1. This is the next row. We're going to put it down and I'm adding on. Row 3, 2, 1. So I have that next row. 3, 2, 1. The next color. 4, 3, 2, and 1. This very first row is now done. Row 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2. Now that row 2 is now done. So that's row 6, 5, 4, 3. This row is done. Put it back onto 6, 5, 4. Row 4 is done. We have 2 of those bright reds. Row 6, row 5, 5 is done. And the last one goes to row 6. So just give a check on each row and make sure that each of those 6 rows works out. Now I would recommend to keep this all in order by sewing 1 row together. So I'm going to sew all 6 of the rows together in this long strip. As we sew these rows together, we will really see the difference. I have the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and so on. Definitely check each row as you do it. It's better to check it now than when it's all done. Let's get the rest of the rows done and then we can sew those rows together. So that simple block really is stunning because of that layout. We do need to be a little bit organized so we don't get that all mixed up, but other than that, this is a stunning quilt. It's 48 by 48 inches. Each one of those blocks are an 8-inch finished block. This is going to be a lot of fun to quilt. I'm kind of thinking of some type of a rainbow quilting. And as always, thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I do have a newsletter. It's all free under Sew Very Easy. Thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.